Oh, don't tell me y'all think Doug Peterson threw his defense up under the bus. That is his whole damn team now. We're going to talk about that here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen, reminding you that we are free to subscribe to over on the YouTube page. Make sure you go to Locked On Jaguars. And then if you listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, tune in every single day so you do not miss an episode. Got a fun show today. Got my boy Jordan DeLugo, guest here today on the podcast. Man, you want to talk about a dude that's podcasting? That's a podcasting somebody, man. Every time I look around, I see something from Jordan DeLugo and Jen Jag, man. So it makes me work harder too. We're going to discuss the Jaguars today. Let me tell you exactly where we're going to get to. Must win in week 2. We'll hit that in segment 3. Right in the middle of the show, we're going to talk about moving forward as a team, what the things they have to do to improve, and how they really have to stay together and not point fingers. Speaking of pointing fingers, a lot of people thought that the blame game happened yesterday when Doug Pederson basically said something to the effect of talking about the big plays that were made. I'm going to let bring Lugo in. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. Excited to be here. Excited to talk some Jags football, man. It's already, NFL week 2, and we've already got drama in Jacksonville. A lot of crazy stuff going on around the league.
Yeah,
it's
man.
The NFL.
Glad to be back. I'm telling you, the stories create themselves. So let's just get right to it. Can you tell me what happened at the press conference and the question that was asked and how Doug answered it? Doug Pederson, how it started all of this, man. He's throwing the team under the bus. He's pointing to the side of the ball that he's not responsible for. I got something I'll say about that, but tell me what went on with that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like when he was asked point blank about a couple of the big plays that the defense gave up, he pointed to coaching instead of execution or anything like that. And it was weird because he said, I don't do this, like saying like he doesn't throw coaches under the bus. He said, I don't do this, but then he did it. And he said it was coaching and those are some things they have to teach up. And he was asked about, I don't remember if it was the Tyreek Hill big touchdown or the Jalen Waddle play a little bit later, but he was asked about, the look there. He said, they've been doing that all game. That was nothing new. That's coaching. It's like, okay. so it was a little dramatic for sure.
Yeah. So let me give you my assessment of it. There's a chance that he's right. There's a chance that over there on the sideline, they were like, yeah, we got to do that better. So last year, one of the things that was always said was they're going to correct it. They got to get back to the tape and correct it. And I remember when they fired the defensive coordinator last year, one of the things that Doug said, and you remember this, Doug said, we got to start being able to fix things in the game. We can't wait until we get to the film because we're losing the game. So we got to, you remember that? I know you recall that conversation, right?
Absolutely.
So to me, this is the same thing as saying, yeah, we saw it. Now we got to fix it. But we didn't fix it when we should have fixed it. And it cost us. And I think folks got to stop being sensitive. There's so many people that are hung up on Press Taylor, who's calling the plays, and Press Taylor, and this and that. There are so many people that say the Jaguars, they abandon the run. All they want to do is throw the ball all the time, right? So they ran the ball 26 times the other day, and they dropped back to pass more than 21 times. It's just with penalties and Trevor getting sacked and some of the runs where he had to run out, they actually attempted to throw the ball more. But let me tell you why this plan was working the other day. This plan was working because people forget that on the play that Etienne fumbled on, he just gashed them for like 13 yards going up the middle. They were really trying to limit possession. So I don't blame Doug Pederson for pointing out that that's coaching, because what it is he's saying that's on us. It's not on the players. We basically we're teaching them something. They did something else and we saw it, but it's something that we probably hadn't gone over ad nauseum to the point where those guys see it as second nature. And I think fans get real. Look, It's not his offense and somebody else's defense. Doug Pederson is the head coach of all 53 people. And when he says it's coaching, it's on him. You agree?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think it's interesting, though, that when it comes to defense, he says it's coaching. Offense, he doesn't really give an answer.
Yeah.
So that's the only interesting part there. And so I don't think he was attempting to throw Ryan Nielsen under the bus at all, or any of the defensive coaches. I do agree with you, but I think he's a little bit more defensive about the offense.
That's his baby. That's his baby.
Yeah.
And you and I have had this discussion before, and I've seen, and I'm not going to bring it up because I think we're on the same side of the issue, but I think when folks look at offense too much, they think about play calling, because I think a lot of people look at the game through the lens of John Madden, the video game. And I look at coaching as teaching. We're in the building. Every time you go over there, they're in there all day, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's what they do all week. If it's a 3-hour game and the offense has the ball half the time, that's an hour and a half. That's 90 minutes. Dude, they spend 12 hours a day over in that talking and teaching and building a game plan. So if there's something wrong with the offense, I don't necessarily think it's play calling. I think if there's something wrong, I would like people to question the design and the intent of the offense more than who's calling the plays, because a lot of times you call plays based on what you know your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, and even if it is press calling plays, like Doug's on the headset, like they're communicating constantly. So I agree that it shouldn't be about who the play caller is at this point. And quite frankly, look, since Doug won't say who it is, it's on him. And it's on him anyways, because Press Taylor's his guy. So that's the bottom line. And for me, when you look at the play calling in this game, it wasn't necessarily as much about, like, was this a good passing concept? Which obviously on the last offensive play of the game, the Jaguars dialed something up. They'd been dialing up a lot, and the Dolphins broke tendency. They went into cover 2 man, and that's a look they hadn't shown all game. And the Jaguars didn't have an answer for it.
Now, see,
and so
now that's good stuff you just said right there, because that is coaching. That is, let's do something different. Let's shake it up a little bit. Let's give them a look that they haven't seen. In fact, let's give them a look that we haven't even done. That, to me, if somebody wants to bring that up, that's when I say you got a good point. But I just think I'm never the guy to blame. Well, I do it in college. I ain't gonna lie. I blame the Florida State coaches for all of that foolishness going on in Tallahassee right now. But
I think you can say the same thing about Gainesville.
I know it, right? Oh, you're a Gator fan. I forgot, right? Yeah, but the
I
thing
follow
is,
those teams close.
Lugo, is for me, it just comes down to, and I love Jaguar fans, but boy, when they get something that's that it's Press Taylor now. It was the pass rush 2 years ago. You notice ain't nobody talking about that no more, because Trayvon and Hines Allen led the league in sacks for a duo. But it's like when they get something, they want their pound of flesh. They want to be right about this so bad. And I told them that a coach told me, who's no longer on the team, that they ain't doing nothing different. They always did. This is what they did in Philly. This is what he did with Frank Reich. This is what Andy Reid's done with Bieniemy and Nagy, and Andy Reid did this with Pederson. And Doug made the mistake of saying it. And last year when he said it, I was like, this ain't going nowhere. Watch. I mean, if anything goes wrong, their process didn't even change much from 2017 when he was in Philadelphia. But the perception of the process is, oh, he's just trying to help his dude get a job. Doug Pederson ain't going to get fired trying to help Press Taylor get no job, man. And it just doesn't work like that. So I just think people want their pound of flesh when things don't happen. We're going to get in a little bit more of this game because I want to discuss the flow of the game and how the game went. I came out yesterday, guns blazing, and said ETN lost the game, and a lot of people got mad at me. I corrected it a little bit, and I said, okay, I'm going to pull back a little bit and say one play doesn't cost you the game. But if you understand how momentum works, and if you understand how life can be injected into a team, one play kind of did cost you the game. I'm going to get to that in segment number 2. We'll do it just a second on Locked On Jaguars from my man Jordan DeLugo. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Hims. Man, this is all about hair loss. Y'all know me. I'm the barber. 34 years. I'm retired now. The barbershop is officially closed, but I have dealt with this for a long time with people just feeling self-conscious about hair loss. Now, I got a whole head full. DeLugo has a whole head full, so you might not think it applies to us, but listen, we understand what you're going through when you lose hair loss, and nobody wants to lose their identity, man. There's something that you can do. Start your free online visit at Hims, HIMS.com/LockedOnNFL. That's Hims, HIMS.com/LockedOnNFL for your personalized hair loss treatment options. Hims.com/LockedOnNFL. Listen, results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. All right, second segment here on Locked On Jaguars with Jordan DeLugo. Jordan, make sure you tell them where you can find. I know you got Gen Jag. You're all over the place. You're a football savant now, so let them know where they can find you every day.
Yeah, so doing lots of content every single day on the Gen Jag YouTube channel. It's just Gen Jag, youtube.com/Gen Jag, whatever. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm constantly trying to, share what other people are doing really well, which obviously T-Wig does a great job here on Locked On Jaguars, and then also put out some original tweets as well where I'm kind of diving into some different things. So those are the number one places you can find me. I'm also doing NFL at large content over on Rogue Football, NFL and NFL draft content. So you can find that on YouTube as well, Rogue Football.
So we have guests on here now. We got guests that's doing the real deal, man. We ain't just got people on here just to talk football. My man Lugo's at it. I'm gonna end this right now. I don't beef with nobody locally. It's crazy. I'm actually here at Locked On. We support local. We're telling you to listen to local because half the time national people have no clue what they're talking about when it comes to the team. So I love all the local dudes, man. We all have good camaraderie. Of course, there's competition, but I compete with myself. So that's just the way that it goes, man. So I'm going to try to have more local guys on here to show that people around here, we're kind of on the same page when it comes to this content creation. The game, how do you think the Jaguars looked? The one thing that I said was everything that they were deliberate and intentional on telling us that they tried to work on, I saw it all in the first 2.5 quarters. I saw it. I saw how they kept everything in front of them. I saw Jarian Jones running step for step with Cheetah. I saw the offensive line actually creating running lanes, mainly for Tank Bigsby. And even sometimes, every now and then, ETN got loose, even though I think this game was more of a Tank Bigsby game because of his running style. I saw everything that they tried to do. I saw them kick a 50-yard field goal after getting the ball with a minute to go and go bip, 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 get a field goal. Let's go. We're going to come out in the half. I saw them do all of these things. And then the fumble happened, and I saw the Jaguars from last year. I got to figure out which one of these two versions of this team they're going to be moving forward. What did you see, and what do you think they have to work on moving forward?
Yeah, it's hard to say which version we're going to get, isn't it? But I completely agree with you. The first 3 quarters until that Travis Etienne fumble, they looked like everything you wanted them to be on both sides of the football. They were balanced on offense, a little bit more pass heavy than run heavy, but it was very balanced defensively. Obviously, there's going to be a player 2 here or there against the Dolphins where they're going to get behind you. That's just going to happen. I don't care who you are. It's going to happen. But I thought that the ETN fumble represented adversity, and the fourth quarter was how you handle adversity, and they did not handle it well at all. And defensively, they really did kind of handle it well, in my opinion. Like, they were not bad defensively in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the Dolphins got a few more plays down the stretch, but again, that's something you're going to expect to happen against a team like that. They still played fairly well overall defensively. What happened to me is offensively, they got way too predictable just running the ball. 8 of the next 9 plays after Travis Etienne's fumble, they ran the ball.
I'm going to tell you what they were trying to do, and it doesn't make it right, but what we do is identify what they tried to do. First, you got to know what you're looking at, right? I'm going to tell you what they tried to do. They tried to go home. And it wasn't they were playing to not to lose. There's a certain thing that you have to do. Andy Reid actually learned how to do this when he left Philadelphia. I used to always joke to people and say, the Eagles games always last to 4:30. This 1:00 game always lasts to 4:30 because they threw the ball 40, 50 times all the time. And I'm like, you have to learn to manage things. So one of the things that I said was they were trying to eliminate possessions. When you have the lead, I want as fewer possessions. Basically, go back to the Georgia Tech Florida State game. If we get first downs and we run the football and that clock runs, that is called game management. That's what we're trying to do here. They're trying to if you limit possessions while you have the lead, and oh, by the way, if you manage to score, I don't think it's a lack of aggression. I also think what happened was those dudes start pinning their ears back. I ain't never seen Ogba play that way. And then they had Calais Campbell, and of course, Chop Robinson has the ability to come off the line. Once they started that twisting with those defensive linemen, I say, oh, Doug's scared. He's scared they can't block him. So that's not being gun shy, or what that is trying to be smart. Yeah, we're having a problem blocking him right now. And unless I give him a shotgun or a bat, that ain't going to stop. We got to get out of here. The best way to do it is to hopefully we can pop something in the running game because they had been so successful early. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but I'm saying that's what I think they tried to do.
Oh, I agree completely. They were trying to get out of there. They were trying to get out of there with a win. They felt like they were doing a good job running the ball, and they were doing a good job running the ball. Part of that, though, was the balance. Miami, for the first 3 quarters, when you came out, they did not know if you were about to run the ball or throw the ball. You had play action going from under center. That went away. And you just went into this shell and you just ran the ball. And I know you're trying to limit possessions, but you can't be completely predictable in your run-pass balance, in my opinion. And I think that's what happened at the end. And then the final 2 plays where they did throw the ball, obviously they were going to throw the ball in those situations because, it's the end of the game and they got to get some points on the board. So, yeah, I just think if they stuck with the same game plan offensively from a run, pass, balance standpoint, and again, under center, play action, that was working really well. And getting Brian Thomas Jr. involved down the field was working really well. And they didn't try to do any of that in the fourth quarter. And so that's where the fault lies. And also, I don't know how you feel about this. I feel like going forward on your own 32 in that situation instead of flipping the field was a little bit desperate.
It was desperate. And the second it happened, my son said, man, they're trying to get back momentum. I said, no, they're not. They're trying to stay on the field. He knows you can't give them the ball back right now because they're hot. They're hot as fish grease, and everything Miami was doing at that point was working. Now,
it's ironic because it stopped them.
I know. I think it affected them here by not making it, but then they bowled up, and fortunately for them, Miami's guy missed a field goal. Look, I think there's a lot of things to be positive about because you held Miami to 20 points. I hate the fact that they only had like 170 yards with 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter, and then they ended up with over 400. That bothers me because this team fell apart down the stretch. And I don't want that game to be a microcosm of the season where, okay, they're going to fall apart at the stretch. That was one of the things that they intently said that they were trying to get out of because they needed guys to play better at the end of the game. I do want to discuss this in segment number 3 because I think it's a must-win situation. I got a problem that when I look out there at crunch time and I see Tyler Lacey, I'm not mad at Tyler Lacey. I think he's a good player. I just want to see Devon Hamilton and Armstead and 41 and 44. I think when it's game time, you have to have your absolute best players on the field, and whatever that rotation you were doing has to go out of the window. I'm going to discuss that here in segment 3 of Locked On Jaguars with my guest, Jordan DeLugo. All right, man, it's all about FanDuel. That's right. I've been talking about FanDuel for so long, man. It has become second nature. And y'all better go and get you some FanDuel right now. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. I know you heard a lot about it, but you ain't heard a lot about this. We have something a little bit different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, every one of you, can bet $5, just $5, and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's right. You heard me. Just $5. Then with the YouTube TV-based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Remember, $5. You don't even have to win your bet. And you get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, third and final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. Where's your team every day? I got to remind you of something. Self-serving a little bit, but y'all got to listen to me now. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now. 2 shows every day. First, the Madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with the double shot of NFL Espresso. And then stop by the barbershop with me. You see that's the barbershop. There it is right there with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked On local experts, and you get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the Madman Tyler Rowland and the barber Tony Wiggins your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. What do you see for the rest of the season, Jordan? Is it a must win, and what are the things they have to do here in week number 2?
You know, it's hard to say a week 2 game is must win. But it feels close to it, right? Like, if you can't go out and beat Deshaun Watson, what are we doing, right? And I know that's a dang good defense. That is a really good defense on the other side. But you got your head coach who's an offensive coach, offensive mastermind. You got your quarterback. You got your weapons. Your defense played well against Miami. This is a game you're playing in front of your hometown crowd. The Browns are dealing with drama, a lot of drama off the field and on the field with Deshaun Watson playing poor football and having more allegations. And I think that if you can't win this football game, how do you expect to go into Buffalo Monday night and win that game? But it is the NFL. It is a week-to-week league. If you lose this game and then you go beat the Bills and you're 1-2, you feel okay.
Yeah, you feel all right. Here's the thing, though. They got Houston right after that. And at some point, you can't start pushing your luck, man, thinking that this thing's going to turn on and off. And one of the things that they talked about last year was they were sitting around waiting for things to just get better. Well, they have to get better. I think what they need to do, you better take advantage of the fact that Cleveland's going to be missing, I think, both tackles again. They got a makeshift offensive line. Deshaun Watson doesn't look like he can hit the side of a barn. I would not be surprised if I at some point saw Jameis Winston this week. Myles Garrett moved around a lot. Anton Harrison didn't have his best game last week. I have been a big Anton Harrison fan. Don't get me started on Antonio Johnson. We'll talk about that in a few minutes too. I want to see bounce backs. I want to see guys like Anton Harrison. I want to see Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne bounce back, and even Evan Ingram. That's 4 people that I believe are in their top 8, top 9 players on this team. That cannot happen. Those guys have to show up and earn that money. I want them to, get to the point where I think they may not do this, and I don't know if this is Doug's style, but at some point you have to look at Brian Thomas Jr. and say, whatever we got to do, we're going to try to throw it to him 8 to 10 times a game. That you just got at some point, you got to say all of these people that we're rotating, everybody's not equal. Who are our best players, and just ride those best players. That is exactly what you see San Francisco do. You know what they're going to do, even without Christian McCaffrey. They're going to throw the ball to George Kittle. They're going to throw the ball to Deebo Samuel, and they're going to get the ball to that running back, and he's going to run behind Trent Williams. Good teams just identify the things that they do best, and they do them until you stop it.
Yeah, man. I don't know how you don't target Brian Thomas Jr. in the second half. I don't know how that's possible. After what he's burning Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
And I know Ramsey had a little injury or whatever the week before. I don't know about all that. He looked incredible. Brian Thomas Jr. looked incredible. They've got to feed him the ball more. And I know they've got weapons. They've got guys they're paying, but you spent this first-round pick on this guy, and he's the truth. You got to feed him the ball.
I thought Gabe Davis looked good. Gabe Davis was catching the ball on the hash, kind of in the middle. He looked better than he looked in preseason. He looked better than he looked in training camp once the real game started. Christian Kirk was just, whether it's getting the wrong depths on some of those passes, and then just the flat-out drops, man. You just can't have it. The Jaguars, we just said that one of the things that they did was they saw some adversity. Well, a lot of the adversity was put on them by themselves. Drop passes, not converting on third down, the offensive line, hitting guys late, dropping passes, and then ultimately the fumble. And then you saw, even though they recovered it, you saw Parker Washington come right back and fumble it again. At that point, I'm like, okay, it's Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong right now, they got the yips. It's going to keep going wrong. What they have to do, in my opinion, is figure out in game how to stop that foolishness. And I think what they tried to do was say, we got to run the football. They don't have the type of line where you say, you know what, man, we need to get out of here and we need to do it behind. We're going to go jumbo and we need to just line up. That's why I was talking about Robert Hunt and all those dudes in the offseason, man, because I need those big, nasty people to just push guys out of the way. They don't have that. Doug Pederson, when he won a Super Bowl in Philly, in my opinion, he had 3 first ballot Hall of Famers: Jason Peters, Lane Johnson, and Kelsey.
That's right.
And those other players, those other guys were really, really good at the same time too. He does not have that here. And they can keep trying. I call it the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Other than the guys that they picked early. By the way, me and you are draftniks. Sam Cosmi got a contract extension. I wanted them to pick Sam Cosmi so bad because I knew he was going to be good out of Texas. And then the dude that they got, Walker Little, probably ain't going to be here after next year. It's just like those are the misses that you cannot have, especially when you're picking in the first, second, and third round and you're picking way high. I think the Jaguars need to, at some point, I said before the games even got played, if I had to say 2 things that they're weak at right now, I think Cisco needs a running mate, and I think they need to get at least 2 more offensive linemen.
Yeah, you love what Mitch Morse did yesterday, but he's not going to be around forever either. I mean, he's an older vet. They signed him to 2-year deal. Brandon Sheriff struggled in the run game. I thought Ezra Cleveland did a pretty good job. Cam Robinson had a pretty good game, but then down the stretch, he and Anton could not block anything.
No.
And Cam Robinson struggled in the run game really bad down the stretch. So it seems like the offensive line kind of like takes turns on who's going to mess this play up. And it only takes one.
That's all it takes.
That's a really unfortunate situation because they have invested a lot. Like Cam Robinson, big investment. Walker Little, second-round pick, big investment, doesn't even see the field. Anton Harrison, first-round pick. Brandon Sheriff, when they signed him, was the highest paid guard in football. Ezra Cleveland, they signed to a deal. Mitch Morse, so it's not like they're not trying to upgrade that spot, but whatever they're doing, it's still just not good enough. Like you can't rely on that to be your strength throughout a football game. You can't, in my opinion, like you said, you can't say we're just going to run you out of the building because you can't stop us, because that offensive line isn't consistent enough in the run blocking department, especially to do that.
I think good teams run when they want to and when they have to.
Yeah.
The Jaguars wanted to run and establish the run to limit possessions. They did that. Got their defense off the field early in the game. Other than the one drive, they managed to do that. Then they needed to run at the end of the game. And I give them an A for effort for trying. But at some point, you know who your best player is? You should put the ball in his hands. On those 2, that trap play on 4th down, I was sitting there screaming at TV, please don't get his ball. I saw when Tank Bigsby put his hand down at 3-point stand, I said, they're going to get a ball. This is a trap. That's the old Bill Walsh 49er play. That's the Roger Craig, Tom Rathman play. And sure enough, he tried to run it and didn't make it. I wanted them to fake that so much and Trevor have an option with ETN, whether he runs it. He only needed a yard, bro. And it's just stuff like that. When it comes to power football, the Jaguars, in my opinion, at that point of attack stuff, it just doesn't work against really, really good teams. And Miami, their weakness coming into the game was their offensive line and their defensive line. And I actually think those 2 things actually saved them and allowed them to hit those big plays. This ain't the last time you're going to see. Yeah, you ain't the last time you're going to see Jordan Lugo, man. We're going to hit it, run it down. My man doing the Gen Jack podcast, doing a very good job of it. It's all about local, man, and ain't no space between none of us around here. We're gonna get Demetrius Harvey on here, John Shipley, if he wants to come on and give y'all the best Jaguars, swallow our egos, and give you the best Jaguar coverage that you can get every single day here on Locked On Jaguars. Jordan, thank you very much for joining us, man, and I'll see you next time. And then I'll see all of y'all tomorrow here on Locked On Jaguars.